Hey everyone, Radical Dreamer here, bringing you a preview of The Outcast, Episode 1. The Outcast is a podcast done by myself and two other Japanese-speaking gamers living here, in Japan. In our first normal episode, we check out some recent Japanese releases and look back on 2009. Specifics include brief looks at Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, the Professor Layton movie, and Final Fantasy IV Warriors of Light, as well as an in-depth look at our thoughts on the best games of last year. As a preview, I've decided to share part of our follow-up discussion on Final Fantasy XIII, where we touch on the open-world aspects of the game and respond to listeners' comments. If you would like to hear more, please head over to theoutcastpodcast.blogspot.com or just click on the link in the information box. Thanks for watching.
One thing that we all did over the past couple of weeks was a bit more Final Fantasy XIII. I know we talked about the game to death last podcast, but
covered everything.
Pretty much,
so we thought.
So
we were wrong.
Yes and no. Well, I mean, I'd like just to, a few follow-up impressions. I mean, Richard, you finished it last time, and I'm presuming that hasn't changed.
Yes, the game is still complete. Sadly, the game is still at the exact place it was when I...
You haven't platinumed it yet?
No, I haven't even touched it, because right after we made that podcast, I started on Birth by Sleep.
You're right, yeah.
And
oh, that's right. It came out
I
like that day.
It came out that day,
hours.
and I powered through that sucker.
Well, I mean, I've put in another maybe 10, 15 hours. I mean, I'm taking my time with it. I'm in no rush to get all the way through it quickly. But, I mean, there's still been that almost constant bashing of the game online for being linear.
Oh, boy.
And the thing that I found, ironically enough, I hit the area where the game opens up. And I've heard this referred to online. You get to a part before entering the home stretch where there's a certain area of the world that opens up. There's monsters everywhere.
Huge.
It's huge.
Yeah,
this is where the people who wanted their free roaming can really enjoy the game.
And they will.
Go nuts.
And I've gotten up to it. And getting to that, looking around the world briefly, killed my enthusiasm for the game or playing it quickly. Because I don't get much time to play during the week. I come home from work, I might have an hour to play. If you're playing narrative-based game,
you can go
from checkpoint to checkpoint. But okay, I've covered this part of the story.
Yeah,
I can pick that up again tomorrow night. But when you're leveling up in a really open environment, an hour is nothing. I want at least 2 or 3 hours before I even turn the game on. Otherwise, I feel like I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
No, I even had that similar experience. Like, I remember what I did is I was just like, wow, what do I do? I kind of felt really lost.
Exactly.
And so I ended up just Skype calling some friends and talking while I walked, because suddenly events became really rare for about, 2 hours there. There was just like, it was crickets as far as it went. It was just walking. And that was okay, but it's the pace had suddenly slowed down.
The game has a gradual, from maybe the opening hours or just literally walking in a straight line, but it does branch out from there. But then once you get to the open world part, it's just totally different. It sets you down in the middle of this huge space, and it's very disorienting. It really is.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, when you first get to it,
that's my favorite part of the game is when you get to that open world.
You get to the open area. There's enemies running around in front of you. There's like a whole ecosystem there.
Yeah, you'll see things flying overhead, stalking prey
that will kill you quickly.
Yeah, and like you'll see big giant behemoths fighting these little
giant
tiger
things.
Yeah. Got the giant adamant tortoises walking around, and some of them the enemies will even fight each other. And if you join that battle, then they'll fight each other and not you until you make an attack. And even then,
Turok 64.
you can group up on like the bigger, scarier one and help the other enemies defeat it. I was happy with that. I like that. That's good.
Yeah, much like when once the game opens up, you're hit with a pretty hard boss fight about an hour or so into that, and I was just so winded by that. I got to the next dungeon, and I got through it, and I could see the boss in the distance. I'm like, you know what? I'm not feeling this right now. I just needed to take a breather because between the grinding and then this is not the type of game where you can grind for a couple hours and just power through the boss. It's not that type of game. A lot of the boss fights are very mentally exhausting. Like, and you have to be on your toes the entire time, and they're long fights.
And
I saw the boss,
long.
and I thought I want to take a little break. So I put it down and started playing 4 Warriors of Light.
I mean, I immediately started to miss the narrative. It's like, I want to know what happens next. I mean, there are small points within that open environment where you have character interaction scenes.
Yeah.
which are interesting in their own right. But I mean, this is a point where you really have to sit back and go, oh, all right, up until now I've been using these weapons, these attacks. What do I want to level? How do I want to play this from this point on? What do I need, like item-wise, material-wise for my weapons? And it requires more thought, really.
Right. No, and I have to put this in context a little bit here. It's at the part in the story where the characters, for the first time, can take a breather.
Yeah.
They can finally let down their guard,
Yeah.
have a few minutes of peace. And so you as the player also have this few minutes of peace. And unlike the game up until this point, even the characters find the peace a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
What do we do? Where do we go? There's this whole
Why are we
world
here?
in front of
Yeah.
us. What could we possibly be here to do, kind of thing. And it's just that part, because as soon as you get through that, we slowly start the ramp up towards the end of the game.
Yeah.
And
Spoiler, there's an end to this game.
Oh my god, there's an end to the
Spoiler.
game. The game ends. Oh,
That
no.
does it, right? End of podcast.
Sorry, not an MMO. I hate to tell you guys. But yeah, and it just starts to ramp up again. It's like, okay, we've had our little climax there near the middle. We've had a little lowering action, and now we're ready to just go straight to the major climax
Man,
of the
I
game,
want-
and bam, do it right.
Bam. Man, you brought up something. I want Kojima to come out with a game where he tricks people and it's actually an MMO. Peace Walker, Peace Walker comes out, it's actually an MMO.
Yeah, you didn't know that. But
And
it's
you
not
have to
4
pay to play
snakes,
it.
It's like 80
I want
snakes.
somebody to sneak
80
attack
snakes.
on that.
There's so much testosterone in that mental image that I can barely contain myself.
So many crotch grabs.
Um,
You're a man?
So, I mean, look, I think the linearity of it has been proven to be a driving motivation for me when I'm playing.
All right. Well, and of course, me on my podcast review, or on this podcast review, and on my video review, I've gotten many comments on my own comment about linearity, and I've been actually surprised at how many people agree with my ideas on linearity, but every once in a while, I'll get a comment that I just don't understand. I think my favorite one recently was,
Was it written in all
13
caps?
Name drop, man.
Yeah.
Who typed it?
oh,
Name
I
drop
don't
these
know, I'd have to
people.
look that up.
No.
I didn't memorize their names.
They have
but,
like noobs and suxors, lots of
I'm
X's
sure.
and Z's.
But
Noobs.
the real thing was, it was just basically, Final Fantasy 13 takes away all the things that make Final Fantasy great. And I was just like, I was like, okay, wait, let me get this straight. You think the things that make Final Fantasy great are giant, empty, low-res world maps, let's see, stores where you walk in and the storekeeper says, good day, towns where the people ask you to find their lost cats or say nothing useful at all. Gee, the sky's blue. Yeah, it is. Well, that's great. And then, of course, even then, especially, the cities feel so ridiculously underpopulated. And then, good lord, I'm just like, and you're telling me this is what you miss?
I made a couple of comments in the last cast, and I stand by them, that the Japanese voice cast in this game is absolutely stunning. I'm really loving it. Having said that, since the last cast, there's been a second English language trailer come out. I've gone back and watched it, and as we mentioned this last time, they have redone the lip sync for all the character voices. But not only in the in-game engine,
and
also by the looks of the trailer, although I swear it's still a work in progress,
Yeah.
also in the CG
Yep.
scenes.
It looks like they're doing it in the CG scenes, because some of them match up in the new trailer. Some of them still don't. So what we're thinking is they've made this trailer with half the mouth captures redone and half of them not. And if they're really going all the way into the pre-rendered stuff and lip syncing,
they did.
Like for absolutely everything, bravo. That is the most amazing
never
localization
Seen anything like
ever.
that.
I do not even want to think about what the cost would be in that.
Yeah, my head explodes, and I'm
Your
heck,
head
I'm-
explode.
I am proud of Square Enix right now.
Good job, Square.
I mean, they seem to be taking this overall approach to localization, which is an old yet new approach. It's the way I think anime was approached back in the early to mid 90s. By removing the Japanese theme song and by redoing the lip syncs, they're really taking away most outward signs that the game is, in quotation marks, foreign or Japanese. And I mean, they have a built-in base. They know that the people who know Final Fantasy, who like Final Fantasy, are going to buy it, even if they bitch and whinge constantly.
Right. They know that they have Final Fantasy fans in their pocket.
Yeah,